We're back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Thursday, and today we have the good fortune of having another guest on the program, listener Tony from South Carolina. Always interesting to talk to Tony. He's got an interesting life. He's an old guy like me. He's retired. He's involved in things that are of interest too. So, Tony, welcome to the show. I appreciate you stopping by today.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it as well.
Why don't you tell the folks? I mean, we talk about it every time you come on the show, but it's worth mentioning. You're involved in something that does a lot of good for young people, but it's a little different. Most people don't either know about it or understand it. So please explain it to us.
Yeah. So what I am is I'm a lightsaber fencing instructor, and I have a school in South Carolina. And lightsaber fencing is a sport that you can find it all around the world. My school happens to be a Lucas Films approved fan club. So we just did a recent event which was sent to us by Lucasfilms to do it. So it was for a semi-pro professional baseball game on May 4th. But through this, I'm connected. I'm connected to a whole host of organizations, and so I'm going to make a shout out to Kyber K Productions that runs a podcast called Saber Rattle. So Saber Rattle is all things Star Wars, all things lightsabers, all things cosplay, all things that are sort of nerdy. I've had the good fortune to be a guest on that show, and I've had the good fortune to be a co-host. I'm going to be co-hosting in June twice. The first one will be with a science fiction writer, Jeff Haskell. He started off writing Pulp Fictions about superheroes. I'm a big nerd. I'm sorry. I'm 69 years old, but that's where it is. Fully created universe, better than, in my mind, better than Marvel and better than DC, and it's in book form. So it's not a comic or anything else. Jeff has recently gone into things like military science fiction. So again, a fully created universe where it's kind of Star Trek more than Star Wars. Like, great guy. My other host is going to be an interesting female. She's a 7th degree black belt. So she's one of the highest degree black belts probably in the world. Karate Hall of Fame. Karen Herdman. She's also been on television. She's been in some movies. She's been on podcasts. She's a big proponent of helping females and women with all sorts of issues. So proud to do that. Just finished a couple podcasts with a lightsaber school in Australia and another one in Mexico. So if you are a nerd like me, a shout out and go to Saber Rattle. You'll find them on YouTube, or you can find them on Facebook and look them up, and which should be good to see. Oh, and they give away free sabers. So that's a big deal. If you're a nerd, you want any chance to get a free saber is great. Thanks, Mike, for letting me get that plug out.
No problem. You just made me feel bad though, because I don't give away any free shit. So I have to come up with something there. You said to me before we started, you said, is it all right if I mention this? It's not in competition with you. Here's what I'm going to tell you about podcast. I don't see any competition for any podcast. Podcasts are on demand, so you can either listen to it or you don't listen to it. When I listen to podcasts, people will be surprised by this because they always ask me, did you listen to this political podcast or that political podcast? I don't typically listen to political podcasts. If I'm on a plane or something, I want to be entertained. So I'm listening to something entertaining. I talk about politics. I talk about politics all day. I think I'm pretty well informed by reading as much and talking as much about it. If there's something specific, I'll check into it, but I don't typically delve into that, and I don't see them as competition. It's not like we're all on at 8:00 and you got to make a choice. You can make your choice to listen to a podcast whenever the fuck you want. So go ahead and mention the podcast. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got the trial, we got the debate, we got all this stuff to talk about. But I wanted to bring something up before we get into it. It's not an important story, but I'm getting a lot of comments and worried people. And I swear to God that people in this country, Democrats particularly, are just starving to find something to worry about. There was an interview with Mitt Romney on one of the news outlets. They were asking him questions about the current situation. Now, keep in mind, Mitt Romney is a perennial presidential loser. Uh,
Yes, he
and
is.
and he's on his way out. What he has to say carries no fucking weight at all. He is part of the Republican Party, who are all complicit with MAGA. Even if they don't identify as MAGA, they've been complicit and supportive of MAGA. But he said on the show, he said that Joe Biden's doing it wrong with regards to Donald Trump and all his criminal trials. He said that he felt as though that Joe Biden should pardon Donald Trump, because then he would be the big strong guy and then Donald Trump would be the weak little guy. A lot of people are upset about that, thinking that that carries some weight. And I'll just tell you, it doesn't carry any weight. It just kind of annoyed
None.
me that he would say this. And it brings up three questions in my mind. Those questions are: first, I've heard Mitt Romney say many times, no one is above the law. Now, what you're
That's
advocating
right.
right now, what he's advocating now is letting Donald Trump be above the law. And I think we've done that enough over the past 7 years so far. So I don't know how he squares that. Then he part of a political party that's supposed to be a law and order party. So we're going to take one of the most prolific criminals in recent history and just let him get away with everything. How do you square that? And the last question I have, and I'll wait for your comments afterwards, but the last question I have is: Mitt, you're supposed to be a smart man. You want to be the president. Please explain to me how Joe Biden would pardon Donald Trump from a state court and a state conviction. Because as far as I know, a president of the United States doesn't have that fucking authority. So he's up there just spewing, pulling shit out of his ass, making people upset. Why don't you just slowly slink away and be embarrassed for what you've been part of for the last 8 fucking years?
Well, he's part of that, a part of the class warfare that people caught on. They realized that this guy was not in touch with average people. So he lost, and he deservedly should. He's sort of a he doesn't like the way the party's going, so he's retreating instead of staying and fighting to make his party better than it is right now, MAGA control. And it's just his idea is stupid. There is no upside for Biden to do this. If he were even to attempt to do it, politically, it would be disastrous.
Yeah.
All of us that have been watching Trump for the last since 2016 realize he needs to be held responsible. And for him to pull a Gerald Ford and, I don't know, drop the federal charges, Biden would already lose this. He's already got an issue with so many groups of people that should be on his side and that he's frankly going to need in November. And
Right.
this would be a big mistake.
Well,
Um,
one of the
I don't
things
know who.
they always say with regards to uh, Gerald Ford and Richard Nixon, well, we pardoned him because we didn't want to divide the country and cause all kinds of chaos within the country. First of all, we already have the division. That's already established.
That's right.
The
That's
chaos is
right.
something
That's
we've
right.
already have. And it's my contention that there would be more problems, more divisiveness if they let him go than if they convicted him. The vast majority of the
You're so
people
right.
want to see him convicted. So whatever they thought was going to go on with Nixon and Gerald Ford, it's gone way beyond that. You can't let them go. Otherwise, you are going to have the problems you're trying to sell us on if you convict him. It's bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, in MAGA people would say, see, Biden is forgiving him because he was innocent and knows he's innocent. I mean, so there's no way of convincing them one way or the other. And then that just gives them free reign to cause as much havoc. I mean, the country has been bad since Gingrich in the 90s. I mean, it has been bad. But when Trump came down that elevator, he has just escalated everything to a magnitude much higher. The country is in the worst shape I've ever seen it. I sat in a dealership today with a Trump guy. Crazy conversation. We just going back and forth on politics. We shouldn't have, but he started it. There was no way of convincing this guy
No,
one way
you
or the
can't.
other. Everything we see in different dualities. So the election was stolen and everything else. But this guy, just to put this in, he thinks Obama. So this guy had a 4 stores in Illinois, and they sold tobacco and rolling papers for tobacco. I didn't even know that was a thing. And he says Obama got money from the tobacco industry to shut his stores down. At the same time, a breath later, he was telling me he had a double lung transplant. I mean, you just can't help stupid, you know. And we went back and forth, and we shook hands, and we certainly weren't adversarial anyway. But the mentality of him and the mentality of so many, we have to destroy them. I mean, the bottom line is we have to get out every single voter, and we have to destroy them, and we have to not make the missteps that hurt us politically, because we need to send a statement to the Republican Party that their behavior during the Trump times has been reprehensible.
Right. Well, we can't stop to argue with them because, like you say, I've tried it, you've tried it. There's no getting through to them. Their thick skulls are too
No,
thick. At this point, all we can do is they're on the run now. All we can do is run them fucking over and leave them behind. That's all we can do. We can't fight with them. We can't negotiate with them. I mean, I've talked to
no,
Trumplefucks. I had a Trumplefuck in the family who was saying what he was saying, and I was saying what I was saying. He says, why can't you just see my side or compromise? I said, normal situations I could maybe compromise, but you're absolutely wrong. I'm absolutely right. Where's the compromise? Are you telling me I have to accept a little wrong to be able to work with you? Because you certainly won't do that. You won't shut up until you get everything you fucking want. And there is no compromise with these people. You
no,
just
no, no,
can't do it.
no. And the old timers, they keep shooting themselves in the dick. I read today just that Dick Durbin is going to go back to using, I guess it's the blue slip, and he wants to make a deal with the Republicans. It was the Republicans who got rid of that, and this is for judges. So if a judge is coming up in there from your state, you can put a slip and protest against that judge and stop or slow his nomination. Um, it was the Republicans who got rid of that, and they just rushed every judge that they could get through. And we've been doing the same. And now for Durbin to go ahead and negotiate with the Republicans, it sickens me, to be honest with you. It's frustrating because there can't be any compromise. It's got to be a total war, us against them, and we need to win that war if we're going to save this country. It's just that simple.
We need to acknowledge that there is no compromise. There is nothing that really can be done till after the election. As long as they have a shred of power, we are going to be taken for a ride every time we accept anything they say. Um, once once the Democrats have control of the House and Senate, okay, we'll talk and see what you got. Otherwise, if we don't like what you say, we're going to shove it down your fucking throat. It's unfortunate. Congress is supposed to be a place of compromise, but it hasn't been for some time. And we can't
No,
flip it
no.
like a switch. It's not going to work that way. We need to shove it down their throat and try to get back some normality in this country because we're so fucking far off track.
Well, it's especially the Senate. The House, the majority gets its way, and it is what it is. You can win back the House every other cycle, but the Senate is this is den of snakes on both sides.
Yeah.
Too many old boys making deals with each other and then using the rules. And typically, the Democrats get the worst of those rules. I don't see the fight there that they need to be. And frankly, if Durbin makes this, I hope they primary Durbin in Illinois. I can get rid of him, to be honest with you, because the minute that the Republicans take over power, they're going to be in the Senate. They'll be rushing judges through like they always have. And right now, that's where the fight is. It's in the courts. So we need to have as many judges on our side as we can possibly get.
Right.
And if we need to get them through and pull them through the process, then we pull them through the process. I'm with you. I don't think Trump is going to win in the next election. But frankly, if I had been Biden, I would have already packed the Supreme Court because we're stuck with those guys. They won't retire, even if Biden wins. They'll hang on for as long as they can.
Well, he
And
still has the
we need,
opportunity after the election to do that. And I think he has a better opportunity because he does need some support from the House, and he's not going to get that from any Republicans because they
no,
have the slim majority. Now, You brought something up to me before we went on that you wanted to talk about, and I told you it's typically not something I talk about because it's a no-win situation for me. I don't have a dog in the fight. I think we've got enough shit going on in this country that we need to focus on. We need to make ourselves well before we can work with the another country. And of course, I'm talking about the Israeli-Hamas war, Gaza, and all of that. Now, you're a former military guy, and you had some insights on that. And I'm just going to let you talk about it because you know I don't know much about this, and I don't like talking about shit I don't know about. So go ahead, tell us your
Yeah,
perspective.
so I'm a retired military officer. I had the good fortune of going to the Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island. And in the Naval War College is exactly what it sounds like. You're taught strategy, you're taught history in terms of how a military is operated, how our military is operated, what was the good, what was the bad. And I ended up with a master's in national security. So the problem with is Israel, of course, is their intelligence blew it and they got attacked. And when they got attacked, it was basically wartime. The other problem is they have essentially a criminal that as soon as he leaves office as prime minister, he's probably going to go to jail. So the Israelis were right to kind of declare war. The problem was that when you declare a war, there's going to be casualties, and they didn't take any care to it. So now they've got a situation where they're fighting insurgents, and we've learned from fighting insurgents many times, and in history it shows that it's tough to fight an insurgency. There's never going to be winners. There's always going to be collateral damage. Their military knows that. They have their version of war colleges, just like we do. They send Israelis to our war colleges. So they went in there guns a-blazing, and on a scale of strategy, and we're talking about strategic thinking, they pretty much violated every kind of strategic thinking that you would have from a military. When we went into, and it's because their politicians pushed the military. We
Right.
went into Vietnam, and our politicians pushed our military. Our military knew not to do that. We went into Iraq and we went into Afghanistan, and Afghanistan was the fight, not Iraq, because our politicians pushed us in there. Our military knew better than to do that, and they fought an insurgency. And the first thing they do is disband in Iraq the one stabilizing force. Yes, it was Saddam Hussein's military, but they were stabilizing force. So we disbanded them, and now they had thousands and thousands of insurgents. Historically, you win an insurgency by being totally brutal. So when the British fought the Boers uh, in the late part of the 1880s, I guess it was, they put their women and children in concentration camps to beat them. And that's the kind of thing you got to do. And so the Israelis are in a no-win situation. They have no plan that anybody knows about of how they're going to get out of this conflict and what they're going to do. And all they've done is created thousands and thousands of more future insurgents. And
Yeah.
their military knows that. They're in a no-win situation. Our problem is we've always supported Israel, even when it wasn't in our best interest. And Israel tends to try to use us against countries like Iran, and we have to be smarter than we have been. So it's in their best interest, of course, to kind of, force confrontation between the United States and Iran, because it just is. Iran is a mortal enemy of Israel. And if we're the biggest gun in the block, if we can do some damage to Iran, Israel is benefits, but we don't necessarily benefit. So politically, this was stupid for us, and I see that Biden is kind of coming along, but the politics have divided our youth off of this, and the youth are pissed off because they see something for the first time, which is maybe not a genocide, but it's pretty close to a genocide, and they're pissed off, and they see the unfairness of it. And the United States and the Biden administration has done a poor job of not only sticking by Israel, but saying we're sticking by Israel, but we're not sticking by Netanyahu. And now it's probably too late. So he may have cost himself a sizable portion of voters, which we would need in November. So that's my only comment. Like you said, it's a no-win situation for Israel. We should know better than to stick our noses into places And when we know it's probably going to be, when it's being led by somebody like a Netanyahu, and we Biden went right along with the Netanyahu trap, full support, unlimited arms, all of it. And that was a mistake. He had bargaining power. He should have used that bargaining power to at least try to address reducing the amount of casualties.
Well,
So we're dragged into this too.
well, we're dragged into this, and you, like a lot of people, are worried about the young people being mad at Joe Biden about about his stance with Israel. Um, I question whether there's as much of the young people that are worried about it. I tend to think that they, while they may be mad about this and they're trying to put pressure on for leverage, when it comes down to nut cutting time, these young people are going to have to decide, are you more concerned with Israel, or are you more concerned with Roe v. Wade being overturned? Are you more concerned with
You
Israel?
are so right.
Are you more concerned with Israel, or are you more concerned with losing democracy? I mean, I think the radical left tends to understand the circumstances, and they do this to put pressure on Joe Biden to try to get him to do what they want him to do. But when it comes down to the decision of who you're going to vote for, I can't imagine any young people voting for Donald Trump knowing what they know.
Well, they won't vote at all. That's the issue. They
Yeah.
just won't vote. However, there are other things like Roe v. Wade, Christian nationalism. These are things the women yesterday with the Kansas City chief kicker, they
Yeah.
know that's Christian nationalism. We need more commencement speeches by those guys to
Yeah.
keep them riled up. That's what will bring out. They won't vote for Joe Biden, but they'll certainly vote against what they're seeing is their rights being taken away as women. They can see what's going on at the state level and across the country. So their fear of that would do it. They'll hold their noses. But the young men would be nice. The young men would just won't vote at all, to be
I
honest.
I don't know. I
Tough
don't
to get
know.
them out.
I don't know about that. I mean, I have no basis to prove my point.
No, I
But
don't either. Other than the numbers from past, elections where the youth did not come out in big numbers until 2022 and so on.
well, when you look at 2020, the numbers that came out were unprecedented.
That's right.
Joe Biden got more votes than any other presidential candidate. And had it not been for Biden, Donald Trump would have gotten more votes than any other presidential candidate. And the question is, why did they come out? They didn't come out because they love Joe Biden. They came out because they were scared of Donald Trump. And that was before we knew a lot of shit that we know now. It's my contention that come 2024, people are going to be even more nervous. They weren't talking about upending democracy in 2020, but they are now. I think the fear level is going to be even higher, and I think the turnout is going to be even higher. And I think that the young people, I don't talk to millions of young people, but I've talked to young people, and I haven't talked to one that says they would vote for Donald Trump because they're mad about Israel. Not one.
When I talk to young people, and I talk to quite a bit, um, they're not like us. They don't have life experiences, so they don't quite have that fear. They'll vote for their girlfriends, or they'll vote for they'll vote because they think there's something in it for them. But the fact is that it Joe Biden's getting the blame for an economy which is frankly pretty solid.
Yeah.
Trump's not getting that blame. At least that's what's coming across in the media. But you're right, and I think when push comes to shove at the end, particularly the educated females in particular, and white suburban women will come out in pretty big numbers. I'm not so sure about the young men. It's almost like they're too stupid to figure it out that who you vote for is going to determine your fate for the next 4 years in a lot of ways.
Well, I've said something that angers some people or pisses people off, that I have the audacity to say this. But the fact of the matter is, you're an old guy, I'm an old guy. If Donald Trump got to be president, really not going to impact us much at all. Even if he gets rid of
No,
Social
no,
Security, he ain't getting rid of our Social Security.
yeah,
If you are
right.
a
That's
young
right.
if you are a young person and you vote for Donald Trump, you're voting for the future, and we don't really have that long a future. So we're going to be fine. But if you vote for Donald Trump, you're going to get what you fucking deserve. And you're not going to like it 20 years or 10 years down the line. And at that point, there's not much you can do about it. I'm just not convinced it's even going to be close. I think it's going to be a landslide for Joe Biden. I don't, there's so much stuff going on here that's going to fall on top of Donald Trump between now and November. His odds of winning now, in my contention, I keep getting people calling me with the polls, and they say, "Oh, the polls say this, the polls say that."
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I always say, "Okay, the polls say this, but the polls have continually been wrong in 2016, in 2020, in 2022. They've always been wrong. But the real example of support is fundraising, because what more way can you show support than
Money
somebody going
speaks. Yeah, money speaks. You know Oz, right? So it's the gal with the red hair and
chasing
all that.
Oz? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So she made a comment the other day, which was exactly on point. She also was addressing polls, and she said, "Who the fuck is even answering the polls? You get a call. The only people who are doing it is your grandma and your
right,
white grandma's answering the poll. That's
right,
it.
right.
That's what they're getting. That's why they're misleading. They haven't. Nobody else is there. If I get a call and I don't recognize it, I don't pick it up. My
Yeah,
wife definitely doesn't do it, and we end up usually blocking it afterwards if it's spam. It's just too many devices. So polls have been inaccurate now for 5, 6, 7 years. They've been terrible. There's no point even worrying about polls. And I actually agree with you. I think Trump is going to lose. I'm always nervous because there's always something that can come up. Joe Biden can get sick. Something else can come up, some other major thing that he gets blamed for. But I want it to be total destruction. I want the young people on board. I want the independents on board. I want the suburbs on board. I want to make sure. And what really always worries me is the electoral college. It always comes down to 5 or 6 states.
yeah.
And we shouldn't have to worry about 5 or 6 states every single presidential election. And we always do. And in those 5 or 6 states where they have Republican supermajorities, they're already purging votes and gerrymandering and all this stuff. So even though big numbers of us come out, you get a bunch of big numbers, say in, let's say, Michigan. They'll go to Michigan and Detroit and they give District 10 machines, but then you go out in the rural area where there's maybe 1/10 of people and they get 50 machines.
Right,
That
right,
kind of shit's going on.
right,
So that's the only thing I worry about. Those are the intangibles and the things the variables that you and I can't see. What they're doing is going unnoticed nationally, being
right.
noticed, locally, but it's not being noticed nationally. Because that could affect an election in those 5 or 6 states. That's probably my biggest worry is the cheating that's going on and has been going on. Some laws that have been passed that the legislatures get to make certain decisions if they don't like the outcomes in certain districts. That there have been some of that going on. That's all scary stuff.
It is, but you got to consider too, like in Florida, for example. As far as I'm concerned, if the Democrats win Florida, it's over for the Republicans. They can't win if Democrats win Florida. And people will say to me, "That's crazy. How are they going to win Florida?" Well, they have this 6-week abortion ban. And they also have the abortion question on the ballot in 2024. So this is going to bring a lot of people out to vote for that. Even if they don't want to vote for president or not thinking about it, they're going to come out to vote for that. So there's going to be tons and tons of people from the blue side and people from the red side that support Roe v. Wade, and there's a chunk of them too.
Right?
And when they come out, that could change what's going on in Florida. Same thing is going on
I
in
think you're right.
Arizona. Same thing is going on in Arizona. If they could flip Arizona and Florida, Republicans have no fucking chance.
I totally agree with you. I actually think Texas is in play because of one man,
Yeah,
Ted Cruz.
right.
He's he's basically an abortion change to a state constitution, all rolled up in one person. He's probably one of the most hated people I've seen, and people will come out in droves to vote against him, or they won't come out at all because he's running. I mean, he's absolutely hated. But you're right about Florida, and you're right about Arizona. It's a big hurdle to get 60% of the voters to approve the initiative in Florida. But if it passes, that's 60% of people who voted for it. That's a giant number. That's going to change everything in Florida, as far as I can see. And the villages are not going to be able to stop it, because a lot of the women in the villages have daughters, and they're certainly not in favor of taking rights away from their daughters.
Yeah, I believe in destiny, and I think I see destiny out past 2024's election, because we've gone through a lot of shit that people in America are just not happy with. Um, People will say, well, in past history, this happened and that happened, and this is what'll happen because of what happened in history. And it's been my contention with 2022 and what's happening in 2024. You can't look at historical guidelines, because we've never seen anything in history like we see now. And people will react
You are
differently because there's really nothing to compare it to.
No, you're a good point. You got to throw out historical norms. You can see it in every special election. Um,
Yeah.
you have a red district, and the special election goes to somebody in blue. You get it. You get an election that's off year, and it has to do with an abortion, and a place like Kansas, and look what happens. Yeah, That's a really good point. We can't go off historical norms. We're
No.
kind of in a new place now.
Well, I mean, 2022 was a perfect example of that. A Democrat wins the presidential election, and then in the off year elections, it usually goes to the other party. That's what happens in history.
Always.
And that's why they said 2022, there's going to be a red wave. There's going to be a red wave. But they didn't figure in the fact that they overturned Roe v. Wade just before the 2022 election. And I think that's the one point that is really the pivot point for Republicans losing. You got all this other shit, and it's going to have an impact. But if you only had the overturning of Roe v. Wade, that's the one thing that causes the Republicans to lose. And it did it in 2022.
Well, Mike, 2022 was when I started following you, and this was before the election. And damned if you didn't talk me off the ledge. Everything that you said during that year calmed me down 22 years ago, and I said, okay, I feel a lot better. He's doing an analysis. It's a smart analysis, and sure enough, we barely lost the House.
Right,
But it certainly wasn't a red wave. When we
no.
lost the House, we kept the Senate. It was amazing, and you called every shot of that,
Well,
and you're the oracle.
well,
So it's happening again.
I'm not an oracle. I don't know anything more than anybody else. It's just how I look at stuff. And this is what I try to tell people. You said I talked you off the ledge. So you were looking at this in an emotional mind, in almost and I mean, people look at it
Absolutely.
in fear. I've got this weird compartmentalization mind where I can just say, okay, fuck it. I'm not going to get emotional about this. Let's just look at the facts. Let's look at what really can happen. And that's how I knew that there would be no red wave. It had nothing to do with any genius on my part. It's just that I was able to separate emotion and fear out of it and just look at it. And, my mind has always been, well, okay, here's my problem. How do I fix it? How do I get around it? What angle do I take? And I didn't take long to look at that, because just overturning Roe v. Wade told me there's no way it's going to be a red wave. I don't know what they're going to get, but it's not, they can't win big after making that decision where 70% of the country is against it. It's just logic.
Yeah. I mean, you would have been a great political consultant, except you would have had to sell. Except you would have had to sell your soul to somebody to be a political consultant.
I'd have to respect a politician to do that. And I can't think of any I do that I'd want to take orders
Yeah,
from.
yeah,
And
yeah. Well,
because whenever I've had bosses or something like that, I will often speak my mind, and frequently they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. So I probably would be a horrible
no.
consultant.
You're absolutely right. There's a couple guys in the house that I would work for. Moskovitz would be one,
Yeah.
And a couple of the other heavy hitters down there. But that's pretty much it. I'm happy to say that at least the members of the House are Democrats are giving the Republicans back everything that we used to get all the time from Republicans. They're loud, they're noisy, but they're smart. And that's what we need Democrats to do across the board at every single level. We need to fight, and we need to fight to win, and we need to fight to end the majorities that are in the state houses. We need to end this whole cycle of everything changing. If you get a president, we need to control the cycles for about 20 years. If we can do that, we can change the country and put it on a better path. The working man in particular would benefit for it, because right now the working man is not benefiting.
No,
This guy, of course, today that I spoke to, um, anti-union, corrupt, anti-education. They're indoctrinating our children. George Soros. I don't know how many times he told me about George Soros. I mean, and yet, the guy didn't understand that he was his own freaking worst enemy. You could
yeah.
see years ago that tobacco was on a downward climb, and hell, he must have been a hell of a smoker if he had to get a double lung implant. But there's nothing. That's the kind of guy we got to push back into the shadows.
Right.
And not give them a voice out there in the public. And there's too many of those crazies that are out there in the public.
Well, for as much as I get accused of being paid for by George Soros, I need to find a way to get on the payroll because I'll take his fucking money. If I just have to say what I'm saying and take his money, I'll take the fucking money. I don't care. But that's the thing. They have to make all
I'm
these
with you.
they have to make these weird claims and these conspiracy theories to fight against us. And we should take that as a vote of confidence. They can't come to us with normal shit. They can't come to us with facts or
No,
policy.
no,
They have to come to
QAnon. I
us.
mean,
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
all of this weird, ridiculous. Got QAnon on one side, the Christian Nationals on the other, and it's all strange and it's all weird. And yet somehow they've managed to get power in the country. I mean, Trump himself is as weird as you can get. A guy with stinky diapers,
He's a
slurring
weirdo.
his words. He's weird. He's strange, and yet they're following someone that normally we would think he's a crazy guy in the street and we'll call him a paddy wagon and come down and get some nets over his head. And I don't understand people anymore, I guess. And the more you get involved in thinking about political things, the more types of people that you see and the more discouraging it can be. But then I run into people like you and a lot of other people on the blue side, and I realize, hey, we've got people too, smart, sharp, aggressive people that are fighting for the right causes.
Let me ask you a question. We're going to take a break here in a minute, and then we're going to talk about the
Yeah,
trial because the trial is starting
I
back up
can't.
today.
I can't
Um,
wait.
but let's say I'm right, and I am. But let's say I'm right, and the Republicans get buried in 2024. Joe Biden wins. Democrats win the House. They win the Senate. They maintain the Senate, and we're off to the races after the 2024 election. What do the Republicans do then? I mean, they've been utter failures since right after the 2016 election. They haven't been able to win shit because they're sticking with Donald Trump. Do they finally realize in 2024, after getting their ass kicked for all these years, 8 years, 10 years, that they got to change things up? Or do they continue to double down and continue to do what they're doing?
Well, first of all, let's see. We all know who controls the Republican Party. Just as they control a lot of everything we do in the world, and that's the very, very wealthy.
Right.
Um, they're not going to get what they want from the Democrats, so they will stick by the Republicans. But they will force the party to change. He'll probably still have Trump if he's not in jail, out there screaming and yelling about things be rigged, but it's going to become the incredible shrinking man.
Right.
And eventually it's going to be like Daffy Duck in an old movie where just the genie shrunk him down till he's just a little tiny voice and no one will pay attention to him.
Yeah.
But the very, very super wealthy, they can't have this. They want their tax cuts. They want their less rate. They want the same thing they've always wanted. Everything. They want everything. So they will fund and they will force and they will primary and they will push the Republican Party back to. And one of the things that they'll use as an excuse is the national debt and stuff like that. They'll go back to the old standbys. Yeah, I think if Trump loses, I think MAGA's time is done, and a lot of the MAGAs will just stop voting or fall into line and become standard Republicans. They'll have to. We're just not going to get rid of the Republican Party. There's too much money behind them, and that money will then force changes, and they'll do it because some of their old standard bearers, like Mitch McConnell and some of the others, they're all retired, and they will find people who will fall in line if they want to have a chance to get elected. That's what I think.
Donald Trump, for all intents and purposes, has destroyed the Republican Party. It bears no resemblance to what it was even prior to 2015. There is no comparison. And I don't think we're going to see the Republican Party disappear. But after all these losses, and especially after what they're going to be going through between now and November, they do have to, if they have any intelligence, if they have any maturity, they have to step back and go, we need to approach this a little differently. We need people's perception of us to be different because people fucking hate us now. They really have to come up with some way to change the perception of the Republican Party. And that takes time. They may not be able to do it by
Oh
2028.
yeah, yeah. No, but you have to admit, with all the think tanks, they're really good at long range planning and strategic thought. They're so much better than the Democrats. They knew this in the 60s and 70s when they were getting their asses kicked then too. And
Yeah.
they said, okay, let's stay this course. We're going to talk about debt. We're going to talk about immigrants. We're going to use dog whistles against black people, and we're going to build from there. They'll find other dog whistles. They'll find something else to talk about, but they will rebuild the party from the ground up, and then it might take a decade to bring it back up. Right now, young people pretty much despise. Well, they don't like both parties, but they really hate conservatives and they hate the Republican Party, and that's good. That's good for us in the long run, since they're going to be taken over from you and me. We're both boomers.
Well,
Um, but things change.
well, and the thing about it is, I've said on the show many times, while I'm fighting with the Democrats against the Republicans, that's strictly because of the fact that um, the Republicans are a dumpster fire and we got to put that fire out before it burns everything down. But I'm not completely sold on the Democrats, too. I mean, we've got Robert Menendez on trial currently, a U.S. Senator for bribery in
Right, right.
16 counts. That would be a story that would be everywhere, but you hardly hear about it because we've got a former president on trial, too. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. But I'm not people say, well, what if the Democrats take over in 2024? What are you going to talk about then? I still got plenty to talk about because we need to put our thumbs on the necks of the Democrats to make sure they fucking do something like
Oh yeah, yeah.
codify Roe v. Wade, which they should have done
Oh
15
yeah,
years ago.
yeah, yeah. You're going to spend a lot of time talking about the Senate because they're fucked up.
Yeah.
They're going to stay fucked up, even if they win. Especially if they only have a 2 seat margin or a 1 seat margin, they're going to do compromises, and then we're not going to like the compromises.
No.
And it's an absolute shame. And the problem with Biden in there, we don't have an aggressive person who is willing to make changes for the good of the country. He's a traditionalist, and do what I think the first thing the Democrats should do. I think they should. I think they should attack the Supreme Court. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Absolutely.
a different president other than Biden would pack the shit out of court. There's 13 judicial districts. We're going to have 13 instead of 9, and so pack the shit out of it.
But
Because
he's gonna need the power in the House to do that. He couldn't do it
yeah,
now. He
yeah,
couldn't do it now.
no, but we will have the House. I mean,
Yeah.
we're going to have the House, and we may not have the Senate. We're going to have the House,
We're gonna have the
and the
Senate
shame
too.
of it, I think so too. It'd be slim, but I think so too. But if he doesn't do that, then nothing gets resolved. They'll still cherry pick the court cases to prevent things. I think there's a case that was was it student loans or was it something else that a judge in Texas just basically said, no, you can't do it. It was something like that. And because it was the Chamber of Commerce. Oh, I know, it was fees. It was fees, bank fees. Simple thing, small thing. You would think every political party would be for lowering bank fees. the Chamber of Commerce picked a judge in Texas. Now, the judge sent that up to the appellate court. The appellate court sent it right back to him, and he made a decision. And guess what? The fees aren't changed. That's the kind of stuff that Biden should worry about. And Biden should do everything he can do to change the nature of the judiciary in this country to make it more progressive and more labor friendly.
Yeah,
But I
absolutely.
just don't see him doing it. I don't see him doing it. And that should be number one. That should be his number one priority. Day one is what
But
are we going to do with the Supreme Court and what are we going to do with the judiciary?
well, when he wins in 2024 and he can't run for reelection and he's 100 years old, um, I'm I'm contending that he may be looking at his legacy and just going hog wild and switching a lot of shit. I'm hoping that's the case.
You may be the oracle, but I think you're giving him too much credit. I haven't
Oh,
I haven't
look at the
seen
time. We'll see you
any
later,
sign
Tone.
of him. It's very rare that I disagree with you, but I think you're just being hopeful, and I'm glad you're being hopeful for your audience. I just don't see Biden doing it. Look, there's two of us here. Neither, we're having this private conversation, and neither one of us is a big Biden fan. To be honest,
No,
he wouldn't
no,
have been the guy that we would have chose. And if you go and look at every single person that does what you do, they aren't Biden fans, and there's
no.
a reason for it.
I'd
He's too
rather have a
fucking old. He's out of touch.
I'd rather have a younger guy. And I always tell younger people, I don't like Biden. I say, well, think of Biden and Trump this way. You walk into a doctor's office, they're going to um, um, find out what's wrong with you. You're sick. Now you got two options. You got a sprained ankle or fucking Ebola. Which one are you going to go with? And you have to make a choice. You're going to go with the sprained ankle, motherfucker. And that is Joe Biden.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way of putting it. That's exactly right. He's the sprained ankle of politics for our side.
There you go. There
We
you go.
we're he's going to cause us pain.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. It is Thursday, and we have the good fortune of having a guest, listener Tony. He's down in South Carolina, very thoughtful guy. He's a guy of a certain age, like I am. So we get the benefit of his wisdom from his years of being in the military and doing all kinds of other things. And I was glad you brought up or you got to a situation where you disagreed with me because I get a lot of Trumplafucks coming to me and saying, "Oh, if anybody disagrees with me, I'll just block them." And that's not altogether true. If you come to me with some crazy, stupid shit and you're a Trumplafuck, yes, I will block you. But I get people disagreeing with me all the time, and I have no problem with that. And the reason I don't have a problem with it is because I know in my heart that I can be wrong sometimes, have a wrong take on things. I've been married 41 years. I have wrong takes every fucking day, and it's pointed out. Secondly, I'm not afraid of being wrong. You know, I've talked to other creators and say, well, I say this, they'll never remember whether I'm wrong or right. If I know I've been wrong about something, I have no fear of saying, I was wrong. Fuck. I mean, it happens. And then I learn from that and we move on. I think a lot of people are fearful about being wrong and they think if it comes out of my mouth, it's absolute fucking gospel. Well, I know for a fact that's not the case. I'm just analyzing what I know and what I see and giving my best guess on it. That's all I do. But that doesn't suggest I can't be wrong. And Tony, you're older than me, so fuck. I got to listen to some shit too.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we have two guys that follow current trends in politics, and we follow it heavily because we're interested in what's happening in the country.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're just going to have a slightly different viewpoints, and that's what this was tonight. Slightly different viewpoint of the same, whatever discussion topic we were on at the time. But you're generally not wrong. But you're so right about the Trump folks is they come in with something crazy and you just can't. You have to block them. You have to get them out. You have to get them out of your life. But with us, it would be boring if we both
Yeah,
said the same thing all the time, right? I
absolutely.
mean, the audience would
Absolutely.
look at us and go, "Well, that's pretty boring." They're just in agreement 100% of the time.
It's two
Why do
old
we need a
guys.
guest for?
It's two old guys in a mutual admiration society. That's dull as shit. Somebody's
That's
got to
exactly
throw in a
right.
little excitement. Well, we're talking about excitement, and yesterday we had a day off from Donald Trump's criminal trial in the Manhattan district. It started back up today, depending on when you're listening to this podcast. It's either going to start soon or we're in the middle of it. It depends on when you listen. And I assume you've been following the trial to this point.
I
What what
absolutely have been following it.
what do you think about it so far? And were you surprised by anything?
Um, I think you have to go through the analysis through the media, unfortunately, because that's
Yeah,
where you get all the information about what's going on in the courtroom. The general consensus is that the prosecution is doing a great job
right,
of setting up the prosecution. They're doing good on every aspect of it. Every witness that they've had has corroborated the story that was coming from Michael today.
right,
Um, I mean, and I understand that people were calling Michael, and they were saying, "You better be humble and keep your damn mouth shut." And I think he's done a. I thought he was a pretty credible witness. It was, it's going bad because Trump is coming out like a befuddled, demented guy with a sheaf of paper every single time. And he just looks like, wow, who let him out of the old age home? He's looks terrible. First of all, he looks bad. He
right.
looks disheveled. He looks pissed off. And he's saying the same things over and over again. And the only thing that was a surprise to me is not that the prosecution didn't have its facts, but the two surprises was how bad the defense team has been, because I think they've been bad, but I think they've been handcuffed. And then my biggest surprise is all these fucking politicians showing up at the courtroom and basically going around the gag order, including the Speaker of the House. That to me was an incredible. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I was totally surprised. I'm not even surprised that Melania is not there. Why would Melania be there? It'd be stupid. They don't, they don't like each other. It's pretty obvious they don't like each other. And then the rest of the family, of course, hasn't shown up except for Eric. But the fact that all these politician bootlickers showed up was a complete shock. So those are my big shocks. How good the prosecution's been, not a surprise. They wouldn't have done this if they put their A team together. But how bad the defense was, and how and then the other politicians showing up, two giant surprises for me.
Yeah, I want to talk about those other politicians in a minute here, but prior to Michael Cohen going on the witness stand, I had all these Democratic gloom and doomers. No matter what happens, no matter how things are going the right way, they always look ahead and go, "Oh, this is going to screw it up. Michael Cohen's going to lose his shit, and he's going to ruin it for the prosecution, and somehow Donald Trump is going to get off." In terms of the first day of testimony with Michael Cohen, there's no other way to put it than that the defense team shit the bed. They were trying to egg him on. They were trying to get him to lose his shit, to discredit him, and he just refused to let them do it. And while he is kind of a loose cannon, he's also not stupid. He's not a great guy. I don't like
No,
Michael Cohen, but he's
no,
not
no,
stupid. He
no.
knows how to play the
He's
game,
not.
and he played those motherfuckers pretty well.
He did outstanding. I think I'm really not that surprised. There were a lot of people that have been on television that know him. I've seen him on podcasts. I think he knows exactly what he was going to do. I heard something interesting the other day, and we all thought that this trial was the least of all the trials and all the indictments. This would
Right.
be the least effective, and yet it makes sense that it's the first because it really reveals Trump's character in full.
Right.
To he is, Stormy Daniels said he didn't rape her, but he certainly bullied her into bed. It revealed that he's a liar. It revealed that he's a cheat. It revealed that he's basically a low rent criminal who
Right.
does sleazy things. None of the other cases would have given us this insight into his character. So in a way, it's almost good that this was the first one that'll come through. I'm sure he's going to be found guilty in probably most, if not all, the counts.
Right.
I don't know what happens for punishment. I've heard different things. I've heard go to jail. I've heard he'll be just put into where he's just basically kept in one place, maybe in-house suspension or something like that. I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine that they'll throw him in Rikers as a sentence. To be honest with you, the even this judge has been a little differential in allowing him to get away with things that, frankly, nobody else would get away with. So I can't imagine that the sentence is going to be jail. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, people always said what you're suggesting here is that this is the lesser thing. It's not a big deal. Will he go to jail? The fact of the matter is if he's convicted and he's sentenced to jail, there will be appeal. He won't be in jail right away, like a lot of people think.
That's right.
But as far as I'm concerned, the convictions are the key. The convictions are the key. And a conviction is a felony conviction is a felony conviction, whether it's in this case or the documents case. And whether those other three happen before or after the election, I don't really care. As long as there are multiple convictions play out in this particular trial, and I'm pretty certain they are. Because what a lot of people think he's going to get convicted and then he'll just bop along and everything will be the same. It can't be the same. If you're convicted of 20 felony charges, that changes a lot of things. That changes the perspective of people who might be prospective voters. That changes the emotional state of Donald Trump. That may change the physical. That's what I'm saying is that when we have the convictions, not worrying about jail, not worrying about any of that, those convictions are going to take a toll on Donald Trump and a lot of people, including the Republican Party. It's going to be
I think so
impossible to
too.
it's going to be impossible to spin an actual conviction in a court.
Well, even for the people that believe the charges are fake and the convictions don't count, the money behind the Republican Party is not going. They're not going to want to spend money on a felon and all that big. He's already behind in the money race. He's got no organizations in multiple states,
Right.
and if he's convicted, the big money is they don't want to taint their own businesses and their own reputation by
Yeah.
backing money. Now, I don't know what this will do with the bootlickers that we've been seeing from Congress. Probably not much. There'll be still people that will vote, but it definitely is going to have a major impact on the election. And certainly post election, like I said, he's going to become the incredible shrinking man till he has no voice whatsoever. So, yeah, I think that this is now turned into an important trial, which I did not expect it to be. And I forget who it was on MSNBC that said this thing about revealing his character. I just thought that was brilliant, and it made me think. That's all true. Nothing has come out of this that says, well, this guy is somebody I want as president. We all knew this, but now we know even more that he's a sleaze.
Yeah. And that's what I thought was going to be the most compelling thing about all the trials. We will hear things. I mean, we've heard a lot of things up to this point about his criminal behavior, but we are hearing things that we've never heard before, and it makes it all that much more horrific as far as this guy actually being president of the United States. Now, you brought up the members of Congress that showed up to the trial the other day. And Donald Trump, he's doing what Donald Trump does. He likes to game the situation. You know, he got the gag order, he pushed it to the limit, and the judge said, "Listen, motherfucker, this is all I got. You're going to jail next time." And guess what Donald Trump did? He shut the fuck up. Everybody said, "Oh, he wants to go to jail. Oh, he'll just keep doing it." And I thought he might keep doing it just out of stupidity, not because he wasn't fearful of of going to jail, but he's clearly fearful of going to jail because he's
Yeah,
shelled
he's a
out.
coward. Yeah, he's a coward.
He's an absolute coward. So what he does what Donald Trump does. I'm going to game the situation. I'm going to find a loophole. So he causes all the sycophants from the Speaker of the House down to senators and reps in the House of Representatives come out and give his talking points. Um, and he thinks, well, I didn't say it, so you can't get me for the gag order. Fact of the matter is in the gag order, it also says if you have somebody else say the things you want to say, that is a violation of the gag order. Now you've got to prove that he made them say it. And Donald Trump's not bright, so I suspect that they will prove that. But what do you think they're going to do about it at this stage? Say they could prove he
What I,
did it.
th- yeah, I think that the prosecution is doing such a good job that they're gonna ask the judge to not do anything, fine him or something like that. Um, it's a it'll slow down the trial if
Right.
they put him in jail. So I think the judge is wise enough to do that. I think the judge will fine him, give him a caution about others. I don't know if the judge can threaten the members of Congress, but what he can do is he can clear the courthouse, and not allow people into his courtroom. And maybe that's what he should do. Maybe he should just go ahead and clear everybody out of there. Let them watch it on monitors somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to put him in jail, although he deserves to go to jail. To be
Well,
honest,
he,
he's setting us up.
I think you're absolutely right about that. I mean, we know that Michael Cohen is going to be the last witness for the prosecution. So after today, their case may be done. And frankly, we don't even know if Donald Trump's defense team has a case. Their job is to just create some uncertainty in it. They haven't done that as yet. Um, and they said we might have a witness, and that witness might be here Monday, but they're not committing to anything. So
That's right.
we might go
That's
into
right.
the summations here pretty quick, and they could be sending it to court next week or sending it to the jury next week. So this is all happening pretty quickly at this point. And I think the judge or the prosecution specifically says, we're on a fucking roll here. This thing is moving along. We'll get this thing done. Let's not worry about putting him in jail for a day or two during this. Let's get this motherfucker done. Now, that's not to say that when it's done, they can't say, well, he did this, and they'll just tack that on the front end of whatever he's doing.
Right,
You
right.
know,
That's right. That's right.
while he's on appeal, waiting to go to jail for the felony charges, theoretically, after the court the trial's over, they can put him in jail for a couple days, which might be a nice thing, nice little cherry on top.
Anything, yeah, anything to keep him off. I don't know what's worse, him being on a trail and slurring his words and saying stupid things about Hannibal Lecter, or him being in jail. I don't know what I get. I think the thing that from the court, the most satisfaction I've got, and I've followed everything though, but the thing that really tickled my funny bone was his odor and the fact and now you're getting people come to his rallies with big signs, real men wear diapers and
Wow.
stuff like that. That's another thing that came out of this trial that just made me laugh. I mean, could there be a more disgusting human being than this?
No.
So yeah, I say I think they're going to get the trial and move it along. I don't know if you're right about next week. I understand he's getting a Thursday off for Barron's graduation, which he's not going to. He's probably going to go do his fundraiser up in Wisconsin. But I think I think it might not. But if they don't have anybody, if they only have one expert witness, and he doesn't, I don't know. I don't know what that guy could do for them right now. The defense has been absolutely terrible. Well, they started off by saying he didn't have sex with Stormy Daniels.
Right.
So prosecution said, "All right, we'll prove he had sex with Stormy Daniels," and it's gone downhill for the defense since then.
Well, and the thing about it is that there's only one witness they could possibly have to put up a fight against what the prosecution has done, and that is Donald Trump. He can deny a bunch of stuff. Now, Donald Trump said he would testify, but Donald Trump says a lot of shit. I can't imagine his lawyers would allow him to testify because it could only go wrong, real wrong. I mean, not even about the evidence. He's going to say something stupid. He's going to do something stupid. The question I have is when they said we might have a witness next Monday, but they didn't name the witness, are they talking about Donald Trump? Because Donald Trump, as much as the lawyers don't want Donald Trump to testify, nobody in the right mind would want that. We know that Donald Trump heavily influences his lawyers and makes them do shit they don't want to do. So
Right,
he
right, right.
could be pressuring them to let him talk, which would be
Well,
interesting.
if you're Donald Trump, how much worse can it get? He's losing the trial. You know what I mean? He's losing the trial. He'll get up. He'll say a bunch of shit. The judge will slap him down. He'll say some more shit, and he'll get into it with the judge. And then they'll say you got to leave the stand. It can't really get much worse. He's going. He's as it stands right now. The, his defense has been almost no defense. It would have been nice to get Alan Weisselberg there, drag him out of Rikers because he was the other guy in the room, and it was the other guy that has. But he's been bought and paid for to keep
Right,
his mouth shut. So
right.
the prosecution realized that even under oath, he's not gonna say anything. There's too much money involved in this.
And I said one time before on the show that there's an intangible to this whole trial. Um, my experience with narcissists is from a distance they look good, but up close you see the cracks, you see the darkness in their soul, and they're just not likable people up close. So now we've had this jury sit with Donald Trump for 7 hour days, 6 hour days, whatever, for the last several weeks. There can be nobody on that jury that can be sympathetic to this guy that doesn't think he's a prick.
I don't think so. They've been listening to him fart. They've been listening to watching him disrespect the court by falling asleep. I nothing, nothing has gone right. But they
No.
only need one juror. I think there isn't one juror in there. I don't even think if they go out for a verdict, I can imagine that they'll be back in about 2 hours. To be honest
Yeah,
with you,
yeah, I think it'll be
it's
quick.
gone that well.
I get people coming to me and saying, "Oh, it's going to be a mistrial. One, all we need is one Trump fuck." There's a lot to being on a jury. If you've ever been on a jury, there's a certain amount of peer pressure because if there's one guy holding out, it's going to drag this on and on and on and on and on. It's going to take a while, and the judge is going to say, "Try to come up with a decision." And so I don't think I'm not worried about a mistrial situation, but I think the mistake a lot of people make is that they think that if there's a mistrial, then he just gets off. And that's not the case. They'll come back and they'll say, okay, we'll retry that motherfucker again. Take more of his legal
Uh,
funding. It's not that he gets off, it will just delay it. And,
yeah,
you know, but I just don't see a mistrial. This is too cut and dried, too black and white. You'd have to be really stupid, and you're going to have to take a lot of shit once the court or the trial is over, being one holdout. I just don't see somebody just an
yeah.
average
They
Joe.
all live in New York. They
Yeah,
all live in New York.
right.
And if you're known, and it would become known that you're the guy who caused the mistrial, um, I think you're going to have a lot of problems with your life living in New York.
You
To
better
be
move
honest
to
with you,
you better move to fucking Alabama real
yeah.
quick.
I mean, I suspect that it'll impact your job.
Yeah.
I think it'll impact your family. I don't know that anybody would, send the boys after you to put one in the back of your head, but I do think that there'll be a lot of people turning their backs on you if you're the holdout, and I don't know that they can keep that a secret forever.
No, no.
So I think the other jurors will be so pissed off
Yeah.
about this one person forcing this what was probably the most important trial since way even more important than OJ Simpson.
Right.
This is an important trial. This is for the whole country. So if there's one guy that's in the tank for him, I don't. I agree with you. I think the peer pressure is going to be so great that they'll come to a conclusion. They may throw a bone by dropping a couple of charges, but I don't see how they even do that. Each piece
Yeah.
of paper that he did is its own charge. I don't see how you get rid of it one or the other.
So as I was saying before, what some people aren't considering, and I'm, you know, Donald Trump's running for election to the presidency. He doesn't have any money. He's got a lot of negative shit about him. He's been absolutely embarrassed, which is crushing for any narcissist. But say he gets only 15 convictions. That's got to have a significant impact between now and November on him, on the Republicans, on the people that might vote for him. I don't think everybody say, okay, he's going to get some convictions. He needs to go to jail, but he won't go to jail right away because he'll be on appeal. But just those convictions, I think, are going to be devastating to Donald Trump's chances of even being the nominee, because I think it's going to be crushing to him emotionally and physically, and the people are going to start stepping away from him. Maybe not everybody, maybe not the base, but enough other people where it's going to become apparent that this motherfucker doesn't have a chance.
I mean, the last few primaries, 15 to 20% of the people voted for somebody that's not even in the race anymore.
Right.
So you get the convictions, those 15 to 20% stay home or vote for Biden. They're locked in.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they didn't vote for him. And then there's going to be other people that will be peeled off. With all the abortion stuff, the women vote is gone. He's got no chance with women.
Yeah.
Just him, his appeal is just him. He's just so disgusting that I think women are going to be turned off. But you throw in the Christian nationalism, you throw in the abortions, you throw in the criminality, you throw in the convictions. He's done with an entire gender. I'd be surprised that he gets any votes from them on that side.
Right.
And then I think they're done. I just don't understand. I don't understand why a bunch of Republicans showed up at this court, because that picture, if they lose this election, that picture of them standing there or that video of them saying things, that's going to follow them in their careers. I
Well,
mean, they should be ashamed of themselves.
it's going to be though. Yeah. It's amazing how much they're they're so tied to Donald Trump, and they're going to ride him to the end, and it will stick with them for the rest of their life. The stink will never wear off. But those videos of them, Mike Johnson and anybody else speaking, those are going to be commercials in October and November,
You're absolutely right. Every one of them.
and it's going
And
to
and they
destroy
should be.
them. Yeah.
We haven't been able to get the folks who helped with the January 6th, so the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the rest of them, because that was behind the scenes. This is not behind the scenes. Them standing there with him. I mean, his arm around Mike Johnson at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, it's almost a gross picture.
Yeah.
And someday, it'll be in the history books, and that might be the picture that shows up in the history books. Is a
Right.
picture of standing next to Trump, and it's not gonna be good. And how do they explain to their families in the world? I don't even know how they can feel the way they feel, what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's just a profile in cowardice and lack of courage. They're disgusting human beings too.
Yeah, if I'm a Republican and Donald Trump calls me and says you got to come and talk about the judge's daughter, I'm going, I'm not fucking doing that. You're about ready to get your ass kicked. I'm not going to jump on board that fucking train and go off the cliff with you. One thing you were talking about whether the members of Congress could get in trouble with the judge over trying to subvert the gag order. One thing that I think might be interesting, the people that were talking about the judge's daughter, they better be fucking completely accurate, because she's not a high profile person. She's not a celebrity, and she could sue their fucking ass for defamation of character. And we know how defamation cases have gone lately.
Yeah, well, that's a really, really good point. I hope she sues the shit out of the whole bunch of them. That
Yeah.
would be interesting. Now, I'm not aware of what Fox News has been doing in this whole thing, to be honest. I don't know if they've just been quiet or trying to avoid anything, but I'm not hearing anything about Fox News in this trial. Mostly because I'm glued to CNN and that MSNBC. And frankly, CNN has been probably has the best coverage, of it. Even though occasionally they get somebody on there who's more, I'm going to say pro-Trump than they should be. They've had outstanding coverage of this trial, but I haven't heard a thing about Fox. I haven't seen anything in media anywhere. So I don't. They're trying to avoid defamation, but these guys are stepping in it big time for sure.
Well, I think that's why I say once these convictions hit and they happen, first of all, the first thing I'm going to do when he gets convicted of multiple felonies, I'm going to go on TikTok and I'm going to say, listen, I'm not the kind of guy that says I told you so. Oh, fuck it. Yes, I am. And just start laughing at the motherfuckers. You Republicans and you Democrats that said he would never be convicted, you fucked up. You were
well,
wrong.
well, if you do it, have a glass of champagne,
I don't
and
drink.
it's oh, you don't drink
No.
sparkling water then, or cider, or something to toast the fact that this happens. Um, it's gonna be a happy day for me. I just wish it was over. I mean, I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping it ends next week,
Well,
and then the verdict is a quick one.
yeah, I hope it's a quick one. And, I've spent the last 4 years, almost 4 years, doing this on TikTok and in the podcast. And those people will always say nothing's ever going to happen to Donald Trump. Well, a lot has happened to Donald Trump. A lot has
Sure
happened
has.
to him, and it would have buried other people if they didn't have the support that Donald Trump has. But it's taken a long time, and it shouldn't have taken this long a time to do it. But when the convictions come down, all these people that will say, "Oh, he'll never get convicted. Nothing's ever going to happen to Donald Trump." You better shut your fucking mouths because you are wrong. We had to wait for it, but that's the way life is. We're not little
Oh
children
yeah.
that need immediate gratification. You got to wait for everything to run its path.
I mean, we haven't even seen what happened with Fonnie Willis as far as his New York case. Maybe it's not Fonnie Willis, with the money situation. I don't
Right.
even know if he ever raised the money for the appeal. It'd be nice if they find him guilty and at the same time they're taking over Trump Tower
Right.
and repossessing it. That would be justice as far as I'm concerned. That's still in play as far as I know.
Well, with the lawsuit, he did have to put up a bond. He put up a $90 million bond, which he attached to money that he can no longer use. The $275 million he had, what he was trying to do in the 275 is trying to rig that whole fucking thing. He's got the bondsmen and basically in what they put up, it was, I just trust us for it. And the judge said, no, you got to put some money behind this. You got to tie up some money so we are protected. And they only put up a portion of the $454 million. But there is $275 million sitting in a position that Donald Trump cannot touch and will likely never get back because he'll lose the appeals. So when people say, well, nothing ever happens to him. Well, he's got $275 million that he had access to that he no longer has access. Yes, it hasn't gone to E. Jean Carroll or the state of New York, but Donald Trump don't have it either. So he's struggling. That's one of the reasons why he's in so much financial trouble.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have the money to do much. I mean, from what I'm seeing, even when he has days off, he's not really hitting the campaign trail hard.
You know,
I think he's exhausted, and frankly, if he got sick and passed away, that'd be for the benefit of the whole country. But he looks awful. He's slowly but surely getting drained of cash. He's making the Republicans look like freaking fools, and that's without our side doing anything. They're doing this to themselves,
right.
as the process goes through. I just, for the good of the country, we need something. We need this verdict to come through. We need a few other things to happen. And then, frankly, in November, if he's still allowed to run, we need to be able to crush him and crush the Republicans up and down the board across the country. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's got to be a solution.
Well, the big news yesterday was, of course, this announcement that there are going to be debates June 27th. We're talking month and a half from now, and then one in September 10th. Now, Donald Trump went and said, I want to do a debate. I want to do a debate when he didn't debate during the primaries. And that tells us one thing. He's desperate. He can't get out and campaign like he wants to. He wants to be able to be in front of a crowd because he's an amazing orator. And of course, he's going to do well. But remember, when he debated with Biden last time, he bailed on one of those debates because he was getting his ass kicked. So he wants to do the debate now. I think he presumed that Joe Biden would say no, mainly because it's way early. We've never had debates this early for any
Right,
presidential
right,
election.
right.
But then Joe Biden steps up and says, "Yeah, I'll fucking debate you anytime you want." Oh, I heard you got Wednesdays off. I love it.
Was amazing. That was a great thing that Joe did. I don't know if he's actually going to debate. There's talk before I came on that his people are trying to get a third debate in October, I think. And the Biden people said, "No, we have two agreements for two debates. That's it. We're not doing a third." But they were smart to go around the presidential commission. I mean,
Right,
the
right.
presidential commission would not make him follow the rules, and it wasn't like an arena coliseum in ancient Rome out there. He'd make a comment, you get all this cheering and yelling, and frankly, the moderators didn't help. So this is going to be a very quiet debate. I don't know what he can defend because Donald Trump does no record to defend on. I just hope Joe comes fully prepared and vicious,
Yeah,
and pitbulls him and hits him on every illegal kind of thing and slams into him. Joe has probably been through in his lifetime hundreds of debates.
right.
So he's old now and he's not quite as quick witted as he used to be, but there should still be some instinct in there. I
Yeah,
don't think Joe did very good debates. I thought he was okay with Trump. That's because Trump is awful. But I don't think Joe did really well in the debates with the Democrats when he won in 2020.
yeah, yeah. Well, Joe's not a tremendous orator because of a speech impediment and that sort of stuff. But the thing about it is I'd be surprised if Donald Trump actually shows up because he's got a lot of things to be ashamed of. He's going to step up there as a convicted felon. He has trouble putting, they always say Joe Biden has trouble putting sentences together when in fact it's Donald Trump that goes off on tangents, like you said, with Hannibal Lecter, and it's fucking crazy. And he will be exposed to everybody of how off the hook, unhinged he is. Um, I think Joe Biden will have a good strategy, and I think the strategy he can use with it is basically what Michael Cohen did. No matter how crazy Donald Trump gets, just lay back, be even tempered, be even keel, and just fucking nail him. It'd be like a pro
Absolutely.
fight and just jab him to fucking death. The other thing is that Donald Trump shows his desperation because Joe Biden and the Republican or the Democrats laid out some pretty interesting rules that apparently Donald Trump agreed to. Like there would be no audience. Like they would have a specific amount of time and they would cut off his mic. I can't imagine Donald Trump would agree to that unless he was desperate.
I think Donald Trump wasn't paying attention, and he let his campaign put this together because he's too busy with the trial. I don't think he's going to show for the June one. For sure, he's not going to show. I don't. I just don't think. I don't think. I think he is smart enough, and his handlers are smart enough now that he's in a bad place. It looks like, from what I've been able to read, that he's got early signs of dementia that are increasing as we've gone through time. So his ability to speak now is certainly more diminished than it was, and it wasn't good to begin with when he was president. That was for
No.
sure. So he seems to be getting worse and worse and worse, and he will just blip out mid word.
Well,
Um,
and again, by the time he goes to the debate, if in fact he shows up, that will be post convictions. And we don't even know how
yeah,
those convictions will affect him emotionally. It might send
that's
him
right.
off the fucking bridge.
And it's fair game for Joe Biden to use against him. It's totally fair game.
Yeah, if he's convicted, Joe can wade into that. Okay. The other
Yeah.
ones where it's the trial hasn't started yet or he's not been convicted, Joe's got to kind of keep hands off of that. He can't really go
Yes,
into that.
yeah, yeah, right. That's right.
So, or if there's a hung jury in this one, and that's not going to be, but if there was a hung jury, Joe would not be able to really venture off into that because there'd
That's
be
right.
another trial, and a president can have a significant impact on a trial. But once the conviction's in, fucking Donnie's done. I
That's
think
fair
he'll be,
game.
I think he'll be so embarrassed that, like you say, I don't think he'll show up.
No, I can't imagine it. He'll come up with some excuse. I mean, he didn't. There's a good reason he didn't show up at the Republican primary. And to be honest, I thought that was good tactics by Trump not to show up. It made everybody else look weaker, and then they spent their time attacking each other anyway. I mean, so I thought that was a good tactic. He looked so far above them that
Yeah,
they dropped like flies, except for Haley. And frankly, Haley is a weak person anyway.
yeah.
Um, but I think I don't see it. He can't take a punch, you know. And if he
No,
goes
he
in
can't.
there with everything going against him, he's going to take a lot of punches, you know. And Biden still seems sharp enough from what everything that I've again read and heard in the media. He still has his wits about him. He's a little bit slower than he used to be. He's certainly old as fuck, but he definitely seems to be able to string together sentences and have coherent thought patterns. And I think he's going to just hand Trump his head in a debate if Trump shows up.
Well, and I think Joe Biden proved it too in the State of the Union. He went like 80, 90 minutes and he looked pretty solid there. He didn't fucking slip up. And that's probably a lot harder than what he'll have to do in a debate with Donald Trump. And to be honest with you, if Donald Trump doesn't show up, I think Joe should still go and take the full hour and just talk about why Donald Trump didn't show. He didn't show up for you
I
here.
think they'll have an event. Yeah, I think they'll
Yeah,
have an event. They'll have an empty podium. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They'll have an event. There, all the cameras in the world will be in that event. Every network. I mean, Fox might pull out at the last second if Trump's not there, but
right.
MSNBC will be there. CNN will be there. ABC, NBC, all of them will have their cameras on that empty podium, and Trump, Biden will have free reign to say whatever he wants to say about this guy, and the moderators will help him through.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted you talked about those members of Congress that showed up for the trial and went around the gag order for Donald Trump. Um, the main reason I think most of those people came was to be a candidate for the vice presidency with Donald
Yes.
Trump. And the idea that Donald Trump is going to pick a vice president seems a little presumptuous to me because I don't think he'll be really in a position in November. I hope he is because he'll get his ass kicked. But I have this feeling that Donald Trump won't make it to the finish line because of all the shit he's going to have to deal with. I have a premise about this. I don't think any one of these people want to be Donald Trump's vice president. They just want to be top of the heat
Oh.
when Donald Trump keels
Oh.
over or drops out or does something
Oh.
so that they're the heir apparent. I think that's why they're catering to Donald Trump with the
Well,
trial.
that's a great theory. I would after Pence. I'm thinking to myself, why would you want that job?
Yeah.
You know, Pence came off looking like a craven fool. His political career is ruined this association with Trump. Um, I think you're right. Now, if Trump does pick one, who do you think is in the best position to
Um,
be?
uh, of that group, he may not even pick somebody out of that group, but of that group, who was I talking to? Maybe I was talking to Eric about this or whatever. The one guy he would pick is not a good choice, other than, he's pretty one dimensional and not very bright, would probably be Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota.
Okay,
Only,
okay.
only because he's a legitimate billionaire and motherfucker needs some money. That's the only
Yeah,
reason he would
that's a
pick
good
him.
pick. So you don't think he'd pick the senator from South Carolina?
Lindsay or
No,
Tim?
the other one, Tim
Tim.
Scott.
No. Uh, do you really think Republicans are going to want a black vice president? I don't think so. And he's so weak and
Well, I mean,
such a simp.
yeah, he's pretty weak. He was terrible in the debate stage. I think Kamala Harris will tear him apart. But I think Kamala Harris will tear anybody apart on that side. She's a pretty good debater.
Yeah, yeah. I think that anybody that's worried, what I've always said about Joe Biden, at this point, all I want from him and all I expect from him is to stay healthy up until the election and the inauguration. After that, if he wants to retire, I don't care. I have no problem with Kamala Harris being president. And it would fix the situation of having an old white man running the country. It would be a chance for the millennials to have somebody younger running the country. And she's more progressively left. So that should appeal to a lot of people that may be mad at Joe Biden.
Well, I think you're right. I think the midterms, if she were to take over, would be a disaster for the Democrats because she doesn't have a really giant following. I
No,
think women basically like her. Certainly, black women like her a lot. I don't think black men care one way or the other about her. But I do think she'd be a good president. I think she's just not likable at this point. She's got the Hillary curse, where people find reasons to dislike her.
you know,
And Hillary would have been a great president.
and that says something about this country. We said that Hillary wasn't likable. We said that Kamala may not be likable. But somehow they never say that about Donald Trump, the biggest criminal that's ever been in politics in this country. That sounds a little
Exactly.
misogynistic.
It is. It's exactly. But of course, that's the other side, right? That's where all the racists, the misogynists, all are. They're all there. The Christian National, they're all there. And they have a, for whatever reason, they have a big voice. I don't know. They're loud,
Yeah,
and they echo out throughout social media. They echo out through their own right wing channels. Somehow, whatever they say gets out there.
right.
And unfortunately, on the left, we don't really, we have you. We have other people,
Yeah, other
the
people
reason
like
they
me.
want to get rid of TikTok is because we have you and we have a lot more like you on TikTok,
Well, you can
you
just go to
know.
YouTube if they do. So
Yeah, well, that's where I'll end up going.
I'm
Um,
I'm like a
I,
bed bug. I'm hard to get rid of.
but you're exactly what we need at this time. You are the rational boomer. We need to have that rationality. We need to not panic, and we need careful analysis of the situation. I
Yeah,
think if you thought it was dire, I think you'd say the same. You'd be truthful about it being dire.
I would.
And
I
right
would.
now, it's not dire. Right
No,
now, I think everything is looking good. We have our issues, but we also have, truth tellers who'll tell us, okay, when you get that little bad feeling, don't worry about it too much, because of this, that, and the other thing. That's all working in our favor.
yeah, you always make things worse in your mind than they ultimately are. I heard somebody say people worry about shit all the time, and 98% of the time it never comes to fruition. So you just
Yeah,
you get your mind working overtime and you feel shitty. I've always had this argument with my wife. She something will happen and she'll be worried. I go, just don't worry about it. She says, I can't be like you. You don't worry about anything. She says, somebody has to worry about it. And I go, you know what? Actually, nobody has to worry about it. I said, we've been here 64 years and we're fine. And we've gone through some shit. This country has gone through some shit, but we're still here. So I just want to ask you one thing before we wrap things up here, because we're getting down to the
sure.
final strokes. Michael Cohen is in the witness stand today as we speak. He's in there. We know that in the first
Right.
part of the cross examination that the defense has shit the bed, accomplished nothing, looked
Yeah,
like fools doing
they
it.
did nothing.
Do they ramp it up today? Do they change something? Do they do something better, or they've already blown their wad and that's all
I'm
they
not
got?
really sure what they can do. The only tactic that they've had is saying, "Look, you can't trust Michael Cohen." That's it. That's
Yeah,
all they got. They don't have an alternate story to tell.
right.
The prosecution had this story, and they did a very good job of presenting the story through all their witnesses and through all the documentation. For the defense to win, they have to have an alternate reason of why these things exist that's different than what the prosecution said. Simply saying he's a bad man and you can't trust him, and Stormy is a slut, so you can't trust her. That's not enough of a defense. You had to account for all the documentation. You had to account for all the other witnesses like Hope Hick and the rest of them, and you had to have a different version of the story that the jury could look at and go, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's not this. It could possibly be that. That puts reasonable doubt in the jury's mind. And they're not doing a very good job of putting reasonable doubt in the jury's mind. Not at all.
No, they're
Other
not.
than saying Cohen's bad and Stormy's bad.
Well, and the thing
You
about it
know,
is, I think Stormy Daniels came off pretty sympathetic to the jury. I think she did all
she
right
sure
there.
did. The
And I think
world changed. Sex workers aren't something to be despised anymore.
no, no. But with Michael Cohen, you can say everything you want to say about Michael Cohen being despicable, not trustworthy, a liar. But what the prosecution did is you can say that about Michael Cohen, but everything Michael Cohen said was corroborated by the other witnesses. And these are witnesses that had
That's
ties
right.
to Donald Trump. So you can say,
Exactly.
don't believe Michael Cohen, but he's telling the same story that people they can't say
That's
are
right.
liars. And that's where the prosecution did a masterful job. And nothing positive, nothing is working for Donald Trump. His defense team literally has nothing. And they're hamstring too, because they can't even try this case the way they want to or the way they think is the smartest way to do it. They have
That's
to
right.
do what Donald Trump says, and we know Donald Trump always fucks up, and he doesn't know anything
Yeah.
about the law.
I think the cross goes today, and then I think it rests unless they have somebody else. It might be that the court will even be closed on Friday because there's nothing else left for them to do it unless this other surprise witness shows up that they supposedly exist out there. Supposedly he's a paper pusher, but I don't even know that. I would love to see Donald Trump go on a stand. That's
I would
that's
too.
what I would love.
I would too.
That would be the cherry on top of this turd shake here.
Well,
But I don't think that's going to happen.
no, the only hope they have is to put Donald Trump on the stand, and they still have no hope. They can't win this thing. There's no way Donald Trump
No,
runs the table
no,
after the trial went the way it went.
no, they're not. And and like I said before, I now have an agreement. This is the trial that should have gone first. That reveals all to everybody.
Right.
And even if we were to lose the trial for some ungodly reason, it still revealed a lot to the public. And we probably won't see the rest of them. I mean, I think the Supreme Court's in the bag for Trump. Of course, that moron down in Florida is in the bag. I think Canada's in the bag for Trump. So, and I don't know what's going to happen in Georgia, to be honest with you. I don't know if we're going to see that one either.
Well,
Um,
I
Fed,
think we'll see them, but like I said before, people are worried about it coming before the election. And at this point, I think the Manhattan district is going to be enough to shut Donald Trump down and destroy a lot of things for him. And if those other trials are still going to be tried, they can delay all they want, but they're not going to drop the charges. And if it goes out after the election, I think that's cool because Donald Trump is now nobody. He's a convicted felon. He's not running for president. He's not the president, and he will just get destroyed in three serious fucking trials, even if it takes the next 5 years. I don't care as long as he's out of the narrative.
I'm from New Jersey, and where I grew up, you wanted to take out an opponent, break a kneecap or something like that. I want to see Donald Trump end up his life totally broke, totally disgraced, feeble-minded, and maybe live a few years like that before passing on into whatever is beyond for him.
Yeah.
Um, because he's done so much damage to so many people, he's gotten so many people killed with his decisions. He's beyond redemption, and so justice to me would be to end up everything taken away from him, including leaving him feeble-minded, and he's already in a diaper, so maybe
Yeah.
double ply the diaper or something like that. That would be fair. And then along those same lines, everybody that enabled him, I wish nothing good for them either, because they put their own their own desire for power ahead of the rest of us. And they stuck us with a guy who probably killed 500,000 people during the pandemic, and who put this country at risk, and is at a risk of losing democracy. So I hope
Yeah.
they end up bad too.
Yeah, I do. I do too. And I said something in a TikTok yesterday that I want to reiterate. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Um, for 8 years, they've been vengeful, vindictive, destructive. They've stolen from the middle class. I'm talking about the Republicans and Donald Trump. They've stolen elections. They attempted to overturn an election. They attempted to overturn democracy and overthrow this country. They've got to be looking at what's going on now with Donald Trump and the Republicans in general. They're seeing the imminent demise of Donald Trump. And when this is all said and done, they're going to come back to us and they're going to ask for forgiveness and for us to be sympathetic. And I can't speak for the rest of the world or the rest of the country, but there is no forgiveness. There is no sympathy. They took it too far. They put us in too much jeopardy. They put us in too much peril. We can't ever allow ourselves to trust them, forgive them, or do anything. The only option is what you said. We've got to eradicate them, shame them, and send them back to their rocks, because if we leave even one, it'll metastasize like a fucking cancer, and we can't afford to do that.
Amen to that. Amen to that. That's a good place to perhaps stop on.
Yeah.
But final words from the two of us, and we are not nice old men.
No,
We're certainly not turning the other cheek.
I would say, some people, I've often wondered, what is the definition of a curmudgeon? I think you got it right here. You got two curmudgeons sitting in front of you, talking to you, and I gladly wear that label. I have no problem with
Same
it
here.
at all. All right.
Same here, brother.
Well, so Tony, thanks very much for joining us. It's always a great pleasure to have you on. It's always a robust conversation, and you have a great perspective on some of the things. And I think what I like most about you is that you mostly agree with me. So that's a positive. So
I do. I
yeah.
do.
Anyway,
Hey,
for those listening at home, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.